In this video, we're going to focus on how to make a custom legend in Chart.JS 3. And this is a question that probably many people have, including me at the time, when I'm trying to learn and to create my own HTML legend. But sadly enough, when you created a own HTML legend, it doesn't have that wonderful click effect that we have by default set on the canvas legend. So what we're going to do is now we're going to emulate and create a nice custom legend, including that clicking event or clicking effect on the HTML version of the legend. So let's start and work with this. So to do this, I want to first, let's open up here. We have, this is our default screen. And then here we have our Chart.js. What we want to do is we want to add a chart first. So we just go to chartjs.org. I'm using the latest version 3.3.2. Click on getting started here. Once you are here, you can see here we have this nice item here. Copy this entire chunk of code. So once we did that, just paste this in here, and I'm going to give a proper indentation. And then here between, I want to put in the Chart.js library. So just click here on getting started submenu, and then you get here the CDN of the Chart.js. Copy that link, paste it in here, make sure it's above the chunk of code here, because this here is dependent on that. Alright, so we have this now. What I want to do here first is say is constant, and we can do here bar, we can do a line, maybe you can do a line for now, it's also nice. But once we did this, we save that, go back here, you can see here, now we have a line, but our line is massive and very, very huge. So how can we adjust that? Well, let's do that here. You can see here we have this width, you can ignore that one, or delete that. And what you're going to do here is you're going to make a div first. It's a class chartbox. And in here, we will nest this canvas tag. And we put in here the div. Alright. So in this class, we're going to put a style. And this style basically will set the width of this box here, or the chart box. So we say here class chartbox. And in here, we say width 700 pixels. Save that, refresh, there we are. So now we have this. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add up a few data sets here. So we have right now only one data set, and data sets here are also an index, and this becomes very important later on. So remember that. So we're going to copy this, and I'm going to put a comma here and paste this again, and then do another comma here and paste this again. We have here the border color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this, and there are some background colors here, but in this case it's a line chart. We don't need those. So I'm going to remove the background color. Don't see any value for that for now. I'm going to remove here, just only get the third value, which is just a single line. No need for any other arrays of colors. Alright, so we got that. This one will be number 2. Here we're going to delete this as well. Delete that just to put that all together. There you are. This is a background color. No need. We don't need any background color. And here we have the border color for the first value. So we're going to put it here. Move that in here. There you are. And finally here, background color can be deleted. So we have here everything now set. I want to change some of the data here. I'll make this 29, make this 13, 15, 12, and 13. And this will wait, well, 2, 9, let's make this 2, and 25, 22, 23, and finally we have this will be 22, 20, well, 29 we already have, so we just make this 19, that's fine, 3, these are very unique, so that's fine, we don't have to adjust them, that would be redundant. Alright, so we have this now, save this and refresh. Now you can see we have these lines here. Maybe we should have a nice background color matching for that. Doesn't matter so much. For now, that's fine. So we have these here. The next thing what we need to do is basically create the legend. Now we're going to create the legend, and eventually we will remove this legend. And what I want to do with the line here, just to create a proper line tension, because this is a very tense line. We want to have it more curved. So let's do that one first. We'll say here in the options, let me say here, tension. Put it on 0.4, that's very decent. Save that. The border width here can be all removed. This is redundant because a line chart always have minimum border width of 1 or line width. So if I refresh here, or basically 3, I guess. So in this case, that's more than enough. This looks far more better and appealing. So I've got this here. Maybe what I want to do is to give the border or the background color the identical color we have. So we can just cover these dots here, but it doesn't matter so much. So I'm going to just do that from background color, background. Alright, copy this, paste this in here, and paste it in here. And then what I want is this, of course, put it in here. And finally this one here, put it in here and save that. Refresh. There you are. Now they're nice solid. That looks beautiful. I love it. Alright, that looks nice. This can be blue. This will be red. And this will be yellow. Save that. Yellow votes, I guess. Yeah, that's, English is not proper, but fair enough. Let's remove that. Well, maybe we just remove these. Blue, yellow, red. Makes more sense to use that. So now we have these all here. So what we're going to do next is to add up basically a div. We're going to create the legend. So I'm going to call this the legend box, and we're going to put it here below. And what we want is basically these things here. First of all, I want to have the colors. I want to have the label. And then I want to make sure that these are buttons as well. So we're going to make it a button style. So we say a div class, and then we say here a legend box. And in this legend box, we're going to have 3 individual buttons. So why buttons? Buttons are very useful if you're going to add JavaScript, because if you're going to use buttons, Google understands that there's JavaScript connected with that, which is the search engine. Basically, the search engine will, or the search spider will search and run through it and knows a button usually have JavaScript. If you have a link or an href tag that you put in JavaScript in there, it might confuse the search engine, because it expects if it's a link, it should link or redirect somewhere else instead of having a button or JavaScript in there. So this is why buttons. Alright, so we have the buttons here, and what I want to do here is a few things. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, we're going to give it the name, but this will be the label itself. Here I want to add up eventually some colors. And the color, I will make it dynamic based on whatever we selected here. Whatever we selected in this one. Since the background color and border color are identical, we can use one or the other. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing what I want to do here is I want to, if I save this, and I will just say here, this will be red, blue, and yellow. Save that. We have these buttons here. Let's give this a proper CSS design. So we say here the legend box as a class, legend box with capital B. In here, I'm going to put them in the center with a fixed width of 700, so it's identical to what we have above. Then we say here, we say display flex. And once we have the display flex, we want to put it also in the center. Because right now, if we put this in here, basically nothing happens except that it removes the space between here. So we say here now horizontal alignment, which is eventually called justify content, and we say center. So we put it horizontally aligned in the center, alright, and now we can do it also vertically, and the reason why for vertically, if you would have some other items in here that's bigger, the line height, it will calculate the line height and put it in the center vertically. So we say align items, center as well. Probably you will not see any movements here, but if you, as you can see, no movements because we didn't have any difference in line height. But in case you would have, this is very useful to use. Alright, so we got this now. The next thing here is basically buttons, and maybe I should give a class here. Let's say here item. I'm going to give this all a class, and then we're going to give it proper CSS as well. So I say here dot item, and then in here we'll say we're going to give it a padding, make it a nicer button. So top and bottom 5 pixels, left and right 10. There we are. Now we have to have some margins. We have to put it away a bit. So we say margins here, and we just give it a margin of 10 pixels for every direction. If we save that, there you are. That looks nicer. Then what we can do here is the following. We have to do here probably a border. What I will say here, border radius. Give it a border radius, and this border radius will be having a 20 pixels. So it's a nice round button or like a pill shape. That's nice. Background color will be eventually based on whatever we have here. So what I will do here is color. I will say color here will be white. We save that. So now you cannot see it, but don't worry about it. The moment we have this eventually with the colors, it will be visible. But of course, what I want to do here, I want to have here cursor. Then we can say here pointer. So the moment we hover over it, it becomes a pointer. Alright, so it's very nice. So what are we going to do next? Well, we have to put in here the function. So we're going to say here, the function will be here. And this will be basically a few things. We have here on click. This function on click will be eventually the toggle data. So we're going to toggle the data here. And then I realize that this should be double quotations. Alright, so let's toggle data, and here we're going to put in the value. This value will be 0 now. And I'm going to explain to you why this is important. So we have 1 and 2. And basically here, what is really the difference here is because of this here. We have the data sets here, and every data set, this here is the first data set, which is index number 0. So these are indexable values, these data sets, and this one is number 1, and this one is number 2. Alright, so we have these. So what we want to do next is basically first, we have the background color, proper color, and maybe a border color as well, plus give it here also the proper labels. So what I will do here is, first of all, I will say here ID. So I will say ID1 or ID Z. We can do red. Let's put in this, and this one will be blue, and finally here yellow. So I'll give this the ID, and you could do it anything else, but ID is proper. Or we can do, even instead of ID, we can do maybe a class and say a query selector. One or the other, it doesn't matter so much. So I'll be using ID in this case. So here what I will do here is we say the following. Say document dot get element by ID. Here's red. So what we're really doing here is the following. We are saying in the document, in the HTML document, which is the entire file here, we're going to search for an element, and the elements need to be properly spelled. Get element. So which element are we getting? With the name, or with the ID name, specifically red. So this means it's a unique ID. ID is only 1, so this is the reason why. Unique ID red, and then what we're going to do is we're going to assign the color here. Then we can say here style dot, and then we say here background color equals. So how do we get the background color? What do we need? Well, to get the background color, we need to pinpoint it back into our Chart.JS, specifically this here, the background color or the border color, one or the other. Let's say we want the background color, alright. Then we say here, we go from my chart to data, and from data we go to datasets, and then in the datasets it's 0. Then we get the border or the background color. Alright, so let's do this. So we say here, this dot data, and then data sets dot data sets, and then here dot background color. And this data set here is fixed on 0, so we put in here background color, and then we say equals. Oh, sorry, no need to do equal. And the reason why is we already get the background color. We will understand that this is the background color. So if I save this and refresh, there we are. We have now this nice red value here. So what I want to do here next is basically the same. We can do it with all of these as well. So we say here, there we are. This will be blue and yellow. This is number 2 and number 1. Alright, so once we have these, we save this and refresh. Now we have our buttons. That looks beautiful. So what we want to do next is the text. Basically the text is very identical. We're going to copy this, but instead of this, what we want to copy now is basically the label. So we say here, my chart data, datasets, label, red. So we say here, my chart data, datasets, and we say here, label. And remember, this is label, not labels, because labels will give you different values. But also, it's in a different structure, meaning my chart data labels. And we are going from my chart data, datasets, labels. Or label, sorry, without the S. Alright, so we got this here. Copy this one here. What do we have more? I see we have, hold on, I need to duplicate everything. Alright, so let's double check what I did here. I see I'm confusing myself because we have a lot of items here. I'm going to copy all of this, put it up. Alright, and what we're going to do here, this will be label. So what I did was I just copied them, put in label here. And then here, this is of course not allowed, because here what we now say here, inner text, not HTML, but inner text. Reason why inner HTML is sometimes considered risky, so prefer to do inner text to avoid any issues. So we force the text, and what will be the text? The text will be whatever we indicate here, or whatever in the label. So if I refresh now we have the same item. So let's try. Say here I'm going to remove everything. Save that. Refresh. There you are. Now our text is this. So if I would say here red 1 2 3, save that. There you are. You can see now it starts to match up exactly what we want. Beautiful. So we have this now, and now we're almost done here. Well, now what we want to do is we want to make the toggle button, basically, where we can toggle very similar to this here. So how will we do this? Well, basically we're going to do the following. We're going to create a function, and this function will be on click with toggle data. Here we already have basically the structure already. So we have on click, it will trigger a function called toggle data, but we still need to activate or create a function with that name. So we say function here. We say toggle data with capital D. Then we put in here value, whatever the value is, because this is our parameter. And our parameter has this argument here. So this is the argument value basically of the parameter. So we have that here. So it will get that value. That value is equals to 0. So if we can do console.log, we'll start to realize it. We say here the value, of course. So we say here this value here. Save that. If I refresh and I open up developer tab, we can see how it works. If I press on red, it should be 0. Blue will be 1. Yellow will be number 2. So there you are. This is beautiful. So this starts to work. So now what we have to do is we have to create here a constant. And this constant will eventually create the value that we want. So what we say here is the value, I'll just call it data, or basically here, this is not really the value data, but this is the visibility data. Meaning we need to figure out visibility, meaning we need to figure out the moment we click on one of these items, we must make sure that we know that this item is visible or not. By default it's set on visible, but when we click on it, it hides. However, we must make sure that once we click on this, it knows it's hidden, and if it's hidden, it should understand we need to show it now again. So that's basically the visibility part here. So for this, we're going to use a constant specifically, and then we say here is data set visible. This is not found in the specific item or specific Chart.JS document. Well, no idea why, or basically I figured it out with, if you read the entire Chart.JS JavaScript file, you can find the hidden gaps within them. So this is one of them. Alright, but what we do need to do here is we say my chart, so go my chart and just search data visible. Is data set with capital letter D visible? Yes or no. So basically here, we put in here the value. If you say number 0 is visible here, right? Because number 0 is red. Or when we click on it, or eventually when we click on this, it should be visible. Alright, so we can do a console log and show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So you can say this. I say this here. If I click on this, it's true. If I click on that, true, always true. If I click on that, and now you can see here, there you are. This is what we need. It's false, false. Why these are false? Because we set it on hard-coded on 0. So basically, this is the hidden logic that we need to know. Alright. So now we have this. So you have this understanding. And this is a really nice piece of gem of information because it's really useful. We're going to use this. So we say here, we're going to create an if statement. And this if statement basically understand if this is equal, now I want to do not 0, but I will say value, because our value is this one here, whatever we click, number 0, number 1, or number 2. If this value equals true, meaning it is visible. In that case, oh wait, let me do something more. True. If that's true, and this is equals strict, if it's true, in that case I want to show my values, or basically the value itself. And we have this here, basically, you can just put it here, because we already have that here. Alright, so if that is true, we must hide it. So we say here, my chart dot hide value. Very straightforward. And if I save this now, let's click on that, there you are. But now if you click on it, it doesn't work, of course, but if you unhide it and click again, there you are. So it starts to work already. So we're basically having it. Now we can do exactly the same, and this is the reason why I'm using a constant here. I don't want to use an else if. Else if would make it maybe a mess. The best is just to have like this, because this is easy to read. Now we just do again here same. But then what we're going to do here is exactly the same, but instead of true we do false. So if it's false, we don't say hide, we say show value. It's exactly what we want. And once we have this, save that, refresh. Now hide, show, hide, show, hide, show. There we are. And if you look right now, you can see as we show it, the legend is starting to respond exactly the same with those lines. And we can also do this here as well. But however, this is the most important part here. We can even do it here. You could say here, and then we can also do, for example, well, we could do a different color. Let's give it a background color adjustment. Then we say here the following. We could get this, get element on label. Maybe here we say the following. We get my chart data, datasets, and then we put in the color. Let's see how will we do it. If this is false, show. Alright, what we say then is we say my chart dot data dot data sets 0, not 0, with value, because that's the value by default, and dot background. Did we get the background color? Yes, the background color equal, we can say here black. Oh, this is not background color, I need to say here dot style. Dot style black. Alright. So then it will create. However, here then afterwards we need to get the color back. And this should, I realize that this should be really a constant here above. So right now I just will hard code this. Then you will see here what I mean. Constant will probably make it more easier. But if you do hard coded, we have slightly problem, but that's alright. For now, I will just show you this so you have understand how to do it. Now when we click on that, oh, I was expecting something here. Can I set property background of undefined? Alright, the reason why is background color. Do it again here. This was set on the first one. There we are. Why are you not working? Can I set background color of undefined at toggle bar? Alright. What is going on here is our value, background color, dataset value. Alright, this should not be dataset value, of course. But we need to go, because we are in dataset, and then we say here background color, star background color equals that. Let me double check. Where are we? So we say here, there we are. Is that correct? This should be it, sorry. The reason why is we need to go from here, data, datasets, and then here, because right now we're not adjusting the color in CSS itself. So let's try again. That's why it doesn't recognize. Now I save this, I refresh. Alright, you can see here something happens. Background color. We can do here the border color. The reason why the border color here is basically because the background color colors the dot itself. So if I click this now you can see here this, but of course this should be undone. and show value if dataset value, show value equals color this. Why adjust? I don't know for now, but let's leave it for this. This is the most important one. I probably have to, we can even do this more deeper eventually. But this is the most important part to consider. I have to just pay more attention to what I'm doing here. But as of now, this is the most important part to create a very dynamic legend. Basically the same one here. Let's remove this legend here above. Then we say here in the options, we're going to say here in the skills, below the skills, comma, I'll say plugins. And why plugins? Basically, with plugins, that's the new part in Chart.js 3, legend. And then we say here display. And then we say here false. Save that. Refresh. There you are. We deleted that, or it has been removed, and now we have replaced it with our own version here. It looks beautiful. So this is the way how you can create your own HTML legend, and I will make probably some more videos covering how we can play around with the colors in the legend itself and how to make that also more interactive. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this video, you probably will enjoy this one as well. And if you're interested in Chart.js, check out in the description box the link directing to my Chart.js course where you can learn everything about Chart.js. And finally, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel.